One eternal, infinite dreamer. That is what we are. All of these creation designs are dreams. Just like when we go to sleep at night, which we spend a third of our lives sleeping, and we dream a simulated environment, and we dream the observer. And we're in that dreamed environment, we're enjoying the Eiffel Tower, we're enjoying a relationship, we're enjoying an experience, we're enjoying some food. All of what we're enjoying is completely dreamed. All of what we're experiencing is completely dreamed. The experiencer is dreamed and the experience is dreamed. The environment is dreamed. All is dreams. As above, so below. Similarly to when we dream at night, this reality is just like that. One eternal, infinite dreamer. We are that. We are the dreamed observers that are immersed into the realities, that are experiencing the realities. All worlds, all combinations that are possible. This is but one combination. This specific Earth orbiting this specific star, 93 million miles away, 4 billion or so years of evolutionary history, a couple million years evolved from chimps, all of the civilizational advancements that have happened in the last couple thousand years, all of the history that we have, the conflict, the prosperity, our unique little story and narrative. 100 billion humans having lived and died before us today. This little story of this specific world and where we're going, everything happening around artificial general intelligence, everything happening around cryptocurrencies and decentralization and Neuralink and biotechnology, all of that is its own unique expression of infinity, its own unique dreamed world. And this is but one of those expressions. When we use our imagination, we bring ourselves out of the box to all of the other creative explorations that are simultaneously happening. Today, when I was reading I Am That by Nisargadatta Maharaj outside in the backyard, this hummingbird came over and was just intaking some of the nectar on some nearby flowers. And I watch these hummingbirds all the time. And I've been adamant about Benoit Mandelbrot in the Infinite Fractal Zoom. And I've always been wondering how to communicate more effectively the speed at which these universes are created. And I finally figured out that a really good way to explain it is that universes birth and die at the same speed that a hummingbird bats its wings. That's the imagination that we have to use to imagine all of the other creation designs that exist along with ours. We're very hubristic. We're very overly self-confident. We're very myopic. We believe that our creation design is all that exists, or even worse, our perspective is all that exists. My egoic, contracted, finite biological entity that is seeking happiness and peace externally is all that exists. That's the absolute worst. Now, in the non-dual tradition, of course, everything is already whole and complete and perfect, and yet at the same time in the dualistic concession, that egoic, contracted energy that is seeking peace and happiness externally, that can't even get outside of its own perspective and try and take in a second or a third perspective of the same consciousness that it's a part of, but it doesn't yet know that. That is ignorance. That is intoxication by Maya. And liberation and knowledge, becoming a Gnostic being, is the turn inward to recognize one's own infinitude and the infinitude of all of these creation designs, and how we are the eternal shared awareness. The analogy that works the best, that's very childlike, the pupil. The pupil is the eternal shared awareness, and the iris is the unique coloration of that expression of infinity. So you are a unique expression of infinity. You have your own unique contribution in this dreamed creation design. And yet the shared eternal observer, witness, I amness, that is the pupil. That is what is the constant, the immovable, that is constantly experiencing the different dreamed creation designs. That's what's been happening. That's what's going to keep happening. That's what eternal, infinite dreamer means. And you take yourself also to all of the experiences that are happening. Again, if you bring yourself outside of just the limited, finite perspective that you have, and you're just in a place where you can undergo the process. Earlier today, I'm out sitting on one of the nearby popular streets here in Los Angeles, and I'm watching a group of 6 people at a table interact with one another. I'm recognizing that I am the awareness that is also the awareness that is in all of those expressions of infinity that are talking to one another. So I'm simultaneously holding my own awareness while I also expand my awareness to the observation and the witnessing of the 6 that are communicating with one another. These are really important advancements to make in your all-inclusive awareness, becoming more non-personal, becoming more God-realized, becoming more of infinity, the one infinite creator that is undergoing the process of being able to take your perspective and expand it out to all of the observation that's happening, the all-inclusive awareness that's happening across all of the dream creation designs, not just this dream creation design, and not just the 6 people talking there at the table, let alone just your observation. So again, you're going from your observation, expanding it outward to being able to undergo the process of holding all of the 6 observations that are happening and interacting with another at that table, to what about all of Los Angeles? What about all 8 billion people on the planet? Can you hold the all-inclusive awareness of all 8 billion observations that are happening? All 8 billion unique expressions of infinity. And the more that you refine that ability, the more that you God realize. That is what is called the repetitions. You're going to be doing these workouts, these repetitions. And the more that you do them faster at younger ages, the more you gain compound interest of enlightenment downstream. That's why so much of the indigenous cultures around the planet are focused on not even allowing the egoic, contracted, finite energy to even form upon birth. Only modernity and ignorant parenting allows the egoic, contracted, finite energy to form. Conscious parents, enlightened parents, assist in the process to where from the infancy that the child comes into the world as a Gnostic being. It knows itself as the one eternal, infinite dreamer. And it knows its eternal shared awareness, and it knows itself as an expression, a unique artistic expression of that infinitude. That's our future of an enlightened civilization. And so we're holding as much of this all-inclusive awareness as possible. We're doing the repetitions that enable us to recognize that at a deeper and more profound level. Every single day, we're going through the process. And that's what also brings peace and happiness and awe. As Buddha was so adamant about, when you get to these states of being, you no longer experience anger and frustration and misery, craving and aversion. You're not attached to the clouds. You recognize yourself as the sky, that eternal shared awareness. And even further, you recognize that even the eternal shared awareness is a dreamed agent of what is an agentless absolute. Why are we doing this? What's up with this one eternal infinite dreamer? The word Leela in Sanskrit, the divine play, the cosmic play. That's what it means to be eternal. That's what it means to be infinite. There is no beginning. There is no end. That's why in the radical non-duality, it is said that you are already whole. This is already complete, this appearance. Expand yourself out into the timescales of billions or trillions of years. There were creation designs before this that we dreamed. There are going to be creation designs after this that we dream. This is but one appearance. So love yourself and accept yourself. First and foremost, the direct path to peace and happiness. Quiet the mind. As Patanjali said in the Yoga Sutras, Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha, union, yoga, with the absolute, with God, is the quieting of the waves of consciousness. And then the recognition of that eternal shared awareness begins to shine. We recognize we are the sky that has the modulations of clouds that appear in that observation, in that witnessing. And then we recognize that even that agent of awareness is dreamed. And that's the last thorn. And that's that absolute realization. all of it is Leela. All of it is the divine cosmic play. Bring yourself back to being a child. Having that awe. Very similar to what entheogens do. Entheogens loosen the grip neuroscientifically on that default mode network, enabling all of these novel connections to happen across neural networks. The awe resumes. The creativity is enhanced. Why so many elites around the world undergo these microdoses of entheogens. Bring yourself back to that childlike neuroplasticity. Bring yourself back to when you have that awe. And what happens is you recognize the dance. You recognize the singing. You recognize the creating. You recognize the play of what this is. Every single note is play. Every single note is the divine symphony. And to ride, like David Hawkins said, right on the crest of every single one of the waves, every one of those notes, to re-baseline ourselves so that we don't have that aversion or the craving, like Buddha taught, to eradicate that suffering, to have that equanimity, to recognize the diamond necklace that's already around our necks, like Rumi said. And we bring that peace, happiness, and awe to the dreamed creation design rather than trying to extract it from the creation design, as Rupert Spira said. It's the divine play, the cosmic play, the singing, the dancing, the creativity. The iris that is unique around every single one of our eyes is the creative contribution, the creative expression of infinity that we are here in this creation design. It's unbelievably beautiful. It's unbelievably perfect. It's indescribably perfect. It's ineffably perfect. As the Sufi metaphysic goes, only those that are truly ignorant seek what is already there. Yet, it remains for you to recognize it. This is what is important, that much of the Neo-Advaita and the non-dual will not make clear. When you say that there's nothing to seek, to also say that yet it remains for you to recognize it. This is over 1,000 years old from the Sufi metaphysics. It remains for you to recognize that diamond necklace of the eternal shared awareness that is dreamed. And that's why there is the conceptual frameworks that enable more and more of the recognition to truly sit in the heart. When you've actually dived into Theravada Buddhism and sat at a 10-day silent meditation retreat, when you've actually read the Tao Te Ching, when you've actually underwent a heroic dose of magic mushrooms, when you've went through the processes, it makes it so that when you undergo the Satori, going through this veilless veil or this gateless gate, what happens is that you feel it in your heart that that awareness is eternal and shared, that these creation designs are dreamed. There is no longer any tendency for anger, for misery, for frustration, for craving, for aversion. But in order to eradicate the suffering at those deepest roots, it really requires surgery. And that's why Buddha taught via the breath, this tool that's always with us. Leverage the breath to quiet the mind. And then all of those other steps will open up flawlessly. The perennial wisdom across the mystic traditions is very clear about silence. The very silence between the notes is what makes the symphonic so beautiful. The very silence between the words is what enables our communication. With no silence between the words, you can hear anything that I'm saying because I would just sound like this all the time, and then you wouldn't be able to tell anything. And even then, there's still tiny little bits of silence between those words. The space is very similar. How often do you just look at space itself? Right now I'm looking at this space, and it triggers the profound realization that that is like the silence between the notes. Draw the analogies, like Douglas Hofstadter pointed out. Analogy is not like the Delaware of the geography of the United States. Analogy is like the interstate highway system of the United States. Take these analogies, the more childlike, the better. The more simple, explain like I'm five, the better. Add them into this conceptual lattice work of yours. As Charlie Munger said, the more that you architect that lattice work from the core disciplines of the planet, science, entrepreneurship, spirituality, the more you'll gain compound interest at a younger age, and the more you'll maximize your potential. And this is the danger of the Neo-Advaita non-dual. There's nothing to seek. There's nothing to do. I am already whole and complete. What interest is there then after that to go and learn from these core disciplines? Entrepreneurship, science, spirituality, add them into this conceptual lattice work of understanding our metaphysical truth and how to share that with other people. How to eradicate those roots of suffering like Buddha taught. So we'll be unpacking more of that in our future conversations. We'll never come to the end of exploration. When you look at a map that is bounded, you can come to the end of exploring that. But when the map is unbounded, when it's limitless, you can never come to the end of exploring that. There will never be an end to phenomenology. There will never be an end to the infinite combinations of iris that is possible. There will never come to an end of the layers of identity to add to these unique expressions of infinity. And so there will be continued eternal exploration, eternal play, eternal dance, eternal singing, eternal creating. And another very childlike, friendly way to think about it is just like you were at 3 years old, 5 years old, 7 years old, 10 years old, combining the different Legos. You can never come to the end of the combinations of Legos. Ever. That's what this is. You can never come to the end of possible combinations of Legos. It's that simple. How many different possible combinations of music? Endless. How many different possible combinations of binary? Computer science. Endless. How many even possible combinations of even the simple RGB, red, green, blue colorations on every pixel on a screen? Endless. There will never be an end to all of the different possible dreamed creation designs. One eternal infinite dreamer. You are that. I am that. Tat Tvam Asi. I and my Father are one. This is the ultimate. This is the absolute appearing. Will never come to the end of these appearances. And even quantum mechanics in the last 100 years has very clearly pointed out to us that all is no thing. All is energy modulating, appearing as form and matter. And now the synthesis of science and spirituality is happening. For thousands of years, spirituality has been saying that, and now science is like, as Donald Hoffman says, Johnny come lately. And that's why Sir Roger Penrose, who won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2020, has a cyclic cosmology. Because nothing else makes sense. What was before the Big Bang? We don't know. What's going to happen next? We don't know. This is just one tiny, finite thing, and that's all that exists. Ever. That's it. Yeah, that actually makes a lot less sense than eternity, than infinity. And this just being one expression of that. That very clearly makes a lot more even logical sense, let alone intuitive. Even logically, it makes a lot more sense. Eternity and infinity. Infinite songs, infinite modulations, infinite energetics, infinite worlds, infinite experiences, infinite observers, infinite dreams. You are it. This is it. This is the absolute, appearing endlessly, creatively, anarchically. And this creative, anarchic, endless appearance is metaphysical truth. And that's why the seeking impulse that you have is the truest thing about you. Like Bentinho Massaro said, it is literally the truest thing about you. The absolute has a GPS callback mechanism, similar to when the dog runs out and you call for your dog to come back. Or if you fly drones, when the drone flies too far away, it has the callback mechanism. That's the heartbeat of the infinite. That very lub outward and dub inward, just like that happens 100,000 times a day in your own heart. Lub, dub, lub, dub. The outward, just like in the parable of the prodigal son, hits the breaking point as the egoic, finite, contracted energy turns inward towards becoming aware that God is the seer that is eternal and shared. That's the GPS callback. That is the metaphysical truth that we're talking about. This is just one creation design. The one eternal, infinite dreamer that will never come to the end of dreaming. That will never come to the end of that infinitude sending out these agents that are unique creative expressions into these dreams to undergo the process of beautifully experiencing and creating in those dreams and awakening to their own true nature. Like the Sufi metaphysic, Wadat al-Wujud, the unity of all finding. All 8 billion right now, just in this creation design, undergoing the process of Satori, of Sahaja, of Nirvana, of Moksha, of being a Bodhisattva, of weaving your profound realizations like the Tantric path into society. It's unbelievable how beautiful that is. And it takes that seeking impulse that is the truest thing about you to pursue hardcore, full time. This is again the danger of Neo-Advaita and non-dualism, where the complete eradication of that seeking impulse prior to have found infinity. Again, the fish recognizing that it's in the ocean, recognizing the diamond that's already around your neck. It still takes the very recognition itself. And that seeking impulse is the truest thing about you. To recognize yourself as the one infinite creator that then creates the Wu Wei, as Lao Tzu said, that effortless action going outward. Artistically expressing yourself from the absolute highest morality. And having that childlike awe, that silly play, the mouth drums. To be able to beatbox. To be able to sing whenever you want, and dance, and play, and maybe even paint. I love you. To be able to do that artistically, creatively, like a kid, whenever you want, because you know you are that one infinite creator expressing itself in this dream. That's why Pablo Picasso was so adamant about retaining that inner child through adulthood. Look at all of the corporate zombies in the economic machine that have no idea how to be a kid and to play. The kid is just choked out of the corporate zombies. Are our economic markers around human well-being and prosperity and abundance, or are they solely in service to maximizing shareholder profitability? And that's a whole nother aspect of polymathy, of being a polymath, having learned much across different disciplines like we talked about with Charlie Munger in this conceptual lattice work, that is required to be able to understand how markets work and how the economy works and how to use decentralization and cryptocurrencies and smart contracts, tokenomics, to be able to share the growing pie more equitably with everybody. You can't just be spiritual. And especially you can't just say, it's all non-dual, there's nothing to seek done. To understand science, to understand entrepreneurship, to understand all of these mystic traditions and their unique aphorisms, and to learn how to quiet your own mind so you don't have the eruptions of anger and frustration and malevolence is paramount. All of that is paramount to maximize your own well-being and happiness, your family's well-being and happiness, your friends' well-being and happiness, your partner or spouse, your children, the community and the world. This dream relies on the unique expressions of infinity to fully turn inward and recognize their infinitude. Not to say there's nothing to do and to stop. That's what simultaneity means. To recognize that there is both nothing to do and that there is already wholeness and that there is this veilless veil to pierce, that there is knowledge and liberation. That's why 2,500 years ago, the Greeks wrote in the Delphic Maxim on the top of the Temple of Apollo at Delphi, know thyself. 2 words, know thyself. Go all the way inward. Get to that God realized state. Get to that infinite realized state. And then effortlessly outward, we'll be able to creatively express ourselves from the absolute highest morality. One eternal infinite dreamer. Boom. That was a lot of fun. Hope it brought you guys value. Thanks so much for tuning in. Infinite love to you all. If the video brought you value, give it a like. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment below. Would love to hear from you. Share the video with other people that you feel this would resonate with deeply. Let's create that domino effect, that butterfly effect on planetary awakening to our true nature, that one eternal infinite dreamer. If you'd like, you can join the channel, gain exclusive perks, and then also be able to fuel our unique creative endeavors that way. That's all. Infinite love, infinite adoration. Thank you so much. You are that. I am that. We are that. Tat Tvam Asi. I and my Father am one. We are the absolute. We are the one infinite creator that's expressing itself eternally through these dreamed creation designs, just like we do when we go to bed at night. Super simple, childlike analogies. Share them and awaken to our true metaphysics. Thank you.